Voice of God. Goddess.
Oh.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started. Feel free. Ooh, heels. Haven't worn heels in a long time. Feel free to come sit, fill the seats in the front. I know. Okay. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. My name is Amy Frank. I am Area Vice President for Marketing Cloud. I run our high-tech vertical. I've been with the company for 8 years and really excited to bring you this wonderful panel today of fabulous leaders who happen to be women, as we like to say. I was just talking to someone and I said, I love working at Salesforce. My job is super rewarding, but doing panels and driving conversations like this are really what keep me excited and what I'm super passionate about. So we're going to spend about 40 minutes doing doing questions for the panelists, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A at the end. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. So to kick it off, I'm just going to have each of you introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you do, and if you feel moved to, you can throw in a fun fact or something interesting about you outside of work. You want to kick it off, Julia?
Sure. I'm Julia Foster. I'm Vice President of Global Partner Marketing at Salesforce. My fun fact is my hair is a different color. Everybody has been pointing it out to me that I need a new headshot, so that's coming up. But I've been with the company for 6 years. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm spinning in the chair. And fun fact is, just moved to Houston, Texas. Lived in the Bay Area for 9 years before moving in June.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex London, and I am head of digital at Zoom. I have been there for a year and a half and coming from Expedia most recently. And so what digital means to us is everything from web, acquisition, localization, and analytics at the company. I live in Seattle, my very first Dreamforce, so excited to be here. But I am from the Bay Area, and I've got 2 young boys who keep me on my toes. And a fun fact is, because I'm in Seattle, yes, I'm an avid coffee drinker, which many people probably would assume, but I'm an investor in a woman-run coffee shops across the Seattle area, so it's fun to support that. Thank you.
Love that. Hi, I'm Kristen Fiondoc. I am Vice President of Alliances here at Vonage. So from Vonage, thank you so much for coming to our hub and to the women's panel. I've been with the business for 8 years, and I'm from I'm from Southern California, live in the Bay Area, and my fun fact is that I just recently moved a couple hours outside of the city to a place called Nevada City, which is in California, so that's also a fun fact for people that think I live in Nevada. But I'm living in a fifth wheel. I'm living in an RV, and I think that is an experience right now. We're building a house, so with a 5-year-old, it's been interesting. But yeah, I'm making it work.
That's amazing. Hi, Tamara Camp. I am the founder and principal for Transformative Marketing Concepts. It's a net new business that I just started about 2 months ago, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And what we do is growth marketing. And we make sure that you can drive incrementality and you can measure all of the amazing marketing that a company does. And a fun fact for me, oh my goodness, there can be so many, but I'm a runner. I've done 4 marathons, 1 in Rome, and before these old knees start to fail me, I think I'm going to do the Great Wall of China. You guys can come up to me afterwards if anybody wants to train together and or potentially run. It's going to be a blast.
You're fun. I like this.
I told you we're going to be best friends.
What a lively bunch. We didn't practice our fun facts.
I
didn't
will
even
clap
have
for
any
you
coffee
while
this
you
morning.
run.
Yeah.
Make you a poster.
Yes. I love it. I'm Allison Johnson, and I lead customer marketing at Okta, just down the street. Prior to that, I've been at Salesforce and Deloitte, and this is my 10th, I think, Dreamforce. So been around a while, and really excited to connect with these strong, powerful, beautiful women. We were able to connect before and learn about their experiences, so excited about that. And fun fact, I'm kind of boring. I've been, you got to gauge everyone's fun fact and figure out where you're going to fit in. My fun fact is that I've recently started taking back up my ukulele lessons, so if you want a butchered version of Happy Birthday, I can do that. It's the only song I've actually mastered, so fun.
I love that. That's awesome. We should have had you perform today.
A custom song, why not? You're in, right? We can do it together. Yes. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
So a little behind the curtain, the way that we really like to do these panels is to do a 30-minute prep before and find out what each woman is passionate about so that we're asking questions relevant to them and not just coming with a canned list of questions. So that's what you're all going to hear today. So we're going to start out with Julia. So Julia, I think what you really hit on was how a lot of people today think about their career as a ladder. It's like, how do you get from point A to B to C to D, always moving up. And you were really passionate about sometimes moving sideways. Really, your career can look like a jungle gym, and making decisions that are best for you to help you get to that end point that you're looking to get to, and driving that with the confidence in a typically male-dominated industry like tech. So would love to hear your thoughts on that and any advice you have for folks in the audience.
Sure, yeah. So a little bit of my background. Before I joined Salesforce, I also spent 11 years at Deloitte, so we found that out, which was a fun fact. And I started my career on Capitol Hill. And going back even further into college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to take anything in the business school, so I was a poli-sci pre-law major. Ended up going to business school when I got into consulting because I realized that was important, but I always just had like a vision in mind, but I didn't exactly know how or what I was going to do to get there. And I never felt like I was, to be quite honest, like the most perfectly prepared or studious person. I was more interested in, having fun and learning what I wanted to learn. But I knew that I had like a bigger end goal in mind in terms of like where I wanted to end up or like general vicinity of where I wanted to be. I fell into consulting after working on Capitol Hill, had absolutely no idea what it was. I was asked to start building a deck, and I was like, what in the world is a deck? I had never opened Excel, maybe for like a few projects that I had to complete, but it was super basic. But I think the point is that I took risks on things that weren't familiar because I wanted to move forward and have momentum versus worrying about, what is this the right thing? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I just took something from each thing, and I ended up spending 13 years in consulting, knew I wanted to get into marketing, found projects that kind of built a skill set that got me into what I wanted to be doing. Sorry, I feel like I'm like slowly moving. And and then joining Salesforce, again, like wasn't totally sure what it all meant. When I left Deloitte, I was just starting to get trained on Salesforce. So I think my point is having all these different experiences are important, and they make you unique, and you bring so much more to the table versus like a hard and fast background in this one thing that you've done 35 times. I think it's the experiences with the things that are hard and different is what make us great leaders. And I heard two things yesterday that were really interesting. I was at another women's event similar to this, and one of the women on stage said, I like to start every meeting with my leadership team talking about what we failed at for the week. And what it means is failed meaning first attempt in learning. And I just thought that was like super smart because it means you're taking risks, it means you're trying different things, and you learn from those mistakes and from those different experiences. So that's what I actually look forward to when we hire our, not the cookie cutter example of what we have, but like how are you unique and different, and how are those experiences really making you into who you are and the way that you lead yourself and your teams.
Thank you. I love that. And I know in our prep call, we talked a lot, all of us as leaders, about like leading with vulnerability and being comfortable with what you don't know and how you can build a team to fill those gaps. And I think owning where you failed kind of helps you show your vulnerability and make space for others to do the same. So thank you for sharing. Kristen, you spoke a lot about sometimes staying in role where maybe you've been there for quote unquote a long time, which I know a lot of people define differently today. Some people think 2 years is a long time. And just the value you can get at really excelling at your role and how that gives you an opportunity to go outside of your job, as it may state in your job posting, to try new things. So would love to hear your thoughts around that and the value you've gotten out of staying put and expanding your expertise.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this this morning with some of the women that I work with. So like I said, I've been at Vonage via an acquisition for 8 years. And in those 8 years, there have been a ton of times where I wanted to quit, I wanted to leave, whether it's the company going through changes and feeling of uncertainty, or an adversary at work that I'm like, oh, this person just drives me crazy, I can't get my job done. But then something always shifts, something always changes. You find your new groove, that person leaves, or something happens, you learn a lesson and you start to execute in a new way or behave differently, and then things just start to change. And I've noticed that in my career many, many times at Vonage. And I think what's been great about that is that while I'm personally developing and professionally developing, my career is growing within the company. My brand is growing within the company. My knowledge of what we do, the value we bring, how to present that to potential customers grows stronger. My confidence in my job goes stronger. So it's almost like you get deeper and better and more powerful and comfortable in your role, that you're then allowed to kind of not put so much pressure on yourself, right? In that confidence. And so learning then to okay, I know how to do this job, so now I can go and kind of explore, new things within the job or things that I enjoy outside the job, because I am not having to start over and learn something new. So I think there's value in that. And in that, my career has grown from different levels to, salary increases, because I think we all work to make more money. So as long as your company is giving you, the roles that you want, the promotions you want, the money that you want, I don't think it's a bad thing to stay and take that opportunity. So yeah, it's been a good experience, and we'll see how long it lasts. But yeah.
Do you, going off script a little bit, but talking about building your brand, I think is a topic that comes up a lot, and a question I get a lot, especially from young women in their careers. So does anyone have thoughts on how do you actually do that? What does that mean? And what types of tactical things can you do to build your brand within a company?
Hi, I can chime in on that. I think it's important. You're not only building your brand externally, it's really important to build your brand internally. And it's understanding the key stakeholders, and it's understanding the different roles. It's great if you understand your role very deep, but what are the other roles that you interact with that you also need to understand, because they might not understand your world. So if you're in marketing and you partner closely with sales or an analytics team or engineering team, they're not going to understand marketing like you do, so you have to educate, you have to learn. And I think it's so important to build those key relationships with your stakeholders and others around you, but it's also an education. The more you're learning about their roles and what they do, it actually will probably bring you new ideas or a new direction or ways to pivot. But they also might not want to support or help your project if they don't understand what you're doing and what it's going to do for the company and how you partner together. So it's really important to focus on, yes, external branding, but internal branding as well, and building those relationships internally.
I just want to add one thing. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to go check out the Girls Who Code area, but there's a wall, and people have written notes for the girls. And one of them said something that I think a lot about when I'm thinking about my brand. and it said work hard and connect with others. And I think my brand is I work really hard. Like I do put my heart and soul. I want to be achieve the goals that the company has set out for my team to do, or that we've set out to do as a company. And so I think people know that about me. But I think the part that I really have to work on, and I do continue to work on, is connecting with others, because like you said, like that really is how you get things done in business. Like people have to like you but respect you. Like you want people, you know, when you're trying to get something done that someone doesn't necessarily want to do, like how do you make that happen? Well, it starts at the relationship level, right? It starts at them wanting to be a business partner with you. So I just love that, because I feel like that really is just such a great way to kind of think about business, is to work hard but connect with others, because it's essential.
That is a great point. And I will say my boss, Stephanie Glenn, is the master connector. So if anyone wants advice on connecting afterwards, I'm sure she will talk to you. But she's really pushed me to connect with others. And one piece of advice I've started giving to folks that I meet with at Salesforce is every conversation you have with someone at the company, ask them for the name of somebody else that you should connect with. And if you start doing that, and even if it's once a month you're meeting somebody new, it's going to start to grow your network and help impact your brand. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Okay, Tamara, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about being brave, because you are super brave and impressive. So you have gone out and started your own company after working at Google for many years. So would love to hear just number one, like how did you know it was the right time to go and pivot? How did you find the courage to do that? And what are some tips and tricks you might have for people who have dreams of starting their own company, or even just pivoting to a new role or something different?
Okay. I may need to come back for a refresher on the last two questions. And I hope I can cover off on all. But let me start by saying I've had an illustrious career in marketing. Like I've been not lucky. I've worked very hard, but I've been blessed. Okay. And, I've worked at, started at KPMG, not the tax and audit arm, but actually systems integration. Yes, I am that old. And then, I went on to work at IAC, where I worked several companies there, with the last being Ticketmaster Live Nation. And then I went on to Western Union. I don't know why I always do that. Ivana, don't tell anybody at Western Union I did that. And then it was Google. So I just want to say that, my life didn't begin and end with Google. I had a lot leading up to Google. But I was part of the layoffs. And after, you get the shock of waking up in the morning and, not being able to log in. And I get up very early. I get up at 4. And I was like, why can't I log in? What's happening? And I'm like, well, let me wait till 6 to call my ABP to see what is going on, right? And so then, because I didn't look at my, I didn't look at my personal email, because I'm here to work. And so the first thing I do is I look at my work email. Anywho, so after, all of the ego stuff that comes into play, and you're sort of feeling like, wow, my role was eliminated. Like, what does that say about me, right? And that vulnerable feeling. And then you have, all these amazing people who are trying to help you, and they're reaching out to you saying, hey, I have this job here, and do you want to talk to this person? And you're trying to be gracious because your network is your support, and you don't want to alienate them, but you're also at a point where you're like, can everybody just slow down just a minute here? Because this is happening to me, and I don't know what I want to do next, right? So I took a beat, and I started to sort of ground in who I am and my purpose. And so I don't know that it was as much as courage as I started to think about what's next for me in my career, at this stage of my career too that I'm in, what's going to make the biggest impact, and where can I still continue to grow and learn? And I will say that that amazing network that I have, my people, and shout out to my people, because I have an amazing, amazing network. I can't tell them how grateful I am to them this year, because I would not have made it through without them. So, oh my goodness, I got a little knot in my throat. But as I was starting to think about, well, maybe I'll do some fractional work while I'm deciding what I'm doing, that fractional work turned into an analytics company that I was working with at Western Union, as well as Google, said, we would love for you to come on as a subcontractor, and be our marketing expert. I said, me, a marketing expert? Get out of here. And they're like, no. And I was like, yeah, you have to sort of remember who you are in things. And I was like, sure. I said, well, give me a minute. Let me set up some stuff, right? So I got with my financial planner. I got with my CPA to make sure that I set everything up properly so I can pay my taxes. Because I plan on making some money. And so it was more about, the universe will tell you, or your God will tell you exactly how things are going to go. I swear to goodness on everything. I plan my life in quarters, and nothing, absolutely nothing that I planned for this year worked out. Not one thing. But I will say that I've been pleasantly surprised, and I am sitting in it, and I'm riding the wave. So less courage, more just really thinking about what my next move was, and what was going to help me grow.
Amazing. I love that you turned a challenging situation into an amazing opportunity, which says a lot about resilience.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to pivot a little bit again. Alex, you talked a lot about using data to drive decisions for your career, impact your brand, and kind of alignment internally. So would love to hear a little bit more about how you've done that and how you've used your skills, your knowledge of what you're good at, what your gaps are, to build global teams that are scalable and successful.
Yeah. So I'll start with the latter because I think you mentioned earlier around understanding where potentially weaknesses are, understanding where the gaps are in your team. How do you fill that? And so I think it's important you have to know yourself as well as understand you're not going to know it all, and that's okay. And you shouldn't be expected to know it all. You're not going to be the best in every little aspect as you start to build in your career and in, build a team potentially down the road, or if you have one today. But it's about knowing your weaknesses and filling those gaps with key people to build that up. And I think that's really important because you're only as good as your team. And so you want to hire for that. You want to peer with that. You want to connect with that. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a team to do that. It could even be the peers of where someone that you might not be as good as, let's say, in data analytics or being data driven, but that a peer or someone in another part of the organization is. How do you partner? How do you learn? How do you have them help you as well as educate them on what you're trying to accomplish to try to fill that? And I think it's important, especially with global teams, that you have to just acknowledge that as you start to grow, because you don't want all the pressure on you and you're just not going to be able to learn it all, but it's about hiring the right people for the right role. But when you do discover that, especially being data-driven, that's extremely important in your career and growth because you can use the data to help your career progress forward. Data is not going to lie. Emotions play a big role in when you are trying to partner with others and they have a very strong opinion, but the data will help guide you. It also is going to show you the incrementality of your time and money spent in your role. Look for those quick wins. Be able to get that out the door. Show to your manager or upper management what you are driving for the business, why it's making an impact, and continue to move that forward. And so it's really important to use data. I cannot emphasize that enough. I think that has helped me in my career growth. It helps you identify strategic roadmaps. It helps you identify where the future should be going for the company. And it also gets others to believe in you. It gets others to kind of piggyback on and say, oh, look what she's driving. Look what she's doing for the company. How do I emulate that? How do I join in those efforts and learn from others? So, I think the two takeaways is use data every chance you can get. It never lies. And you're truly only as good as your team. And continue to understand where those weaknesses are and fill those.
Oh, that was so good. I believe that so much, what you just said. Because many times when I've tried to get something done, there's always like, well, I know this because I live in this and I'm experiencing it and I know like this is what we need to be doing, but no one is going to experience that or feel it the same way you do. But when you show it in data, then they go, oh, okay, like we do see this trend or we do see the reason why this is important. It just kind of like almost validates or brings more credibility to what you're trying to achieve. And the other thing that you said that I really, really resonate with is sometimes in a role you get really kind of like tunnel vision on what you're trying to achieve or you're trying to get your team to achieve. But if you go higher up and you really look at like what is the company trying to achieve, then you can start to have like these more elevated conversations and really feel more of like someone that's driving for the business and not just like your one department or your one thing. So I really resonated with that other point that you made.
I just want to add one more thing about data just because I love it so much. I do. It also solves a lot of arguments. I've sort of like diffused tense sessions where people have opinions about what something should be. You're just like, okay, no problem. Let's just test it. Test it. See what happens. And sometimes when you have, and we all have them, your boss or your boss's boss may be a little bit too far in the weeds and they want to like tell you sort of how to do something. You're like, okay, but the data's telling us this. Are you sure that's what we want to do because you think it's the right thing? In all of your experience being a sample populace of one? So, but you do it, but it's a nice way just to sort of equip yourself so that you can have these really meaningful discussions.
Yeah, exactly.
It helps you put the why behind decisions. We talk about that a lot at Salesforce, especially when you're trying to run programs at scale. People need to understand like why you're doing that, and if you can show them the data behind it, it's easier to drive the adoption or the acceptance of what you're trying to do. And I think it also what we're talking about is like how do we be objective with what we're trying to drive. And secondly, when it goes back to branding, it's like showing your work and showing your worth to your company. And if you're not using data to do that, it can be very challenging and it can be seen as subjective, right? So I think data can help us in many ways.
Can I just add one more?
You can add whatever you want.
Popping in. Thank you, that's my cough. I also think with data, I love that, right? It's a way to have the conversation that's really fact-based. It kind of takes the emotion out of it. I have a girlfriend who's supposed to be here, and she and I have this conversation all the time. She's like, I have to have this tough conversation at work. What story do I tell? And I think in addition to the data, leading customer marketing, I think it's really important to sprinkle in customer insights too. I think adding that like focus group, that research, that data, it's not me who's disagreeing with the data here, it's our customers who are weighing in. And so I find that like marrying the data with the story from our customers or from your audience or who are you trying to impact is really powerful as well. It just enhances that story even more and makes it stronger. So that's always one of my secret weapons. And we recently at Okta just had one of our leaders speak at a conference, and she talked about her data as well. And she said, I always have my cheat sheet handy. I have all of my data in the presentation for our executives, and I've got my little cheat sheet on the side. And I thought that was really beautiful because you know the story that your data is telling. You don't need to put everything on there, but you want to know that when you're going to get called to the table, you have that information right at your fingertips. So always, I love that insight. It's something you don't always share with everyone, that you do have like your little tips and tricks. And so always remember to keep that handy so you can let them know who's boss.
Okay, Allison, and this question's for you, but this was a topic I think we all were really passionate about. So we'll start with you, and then obviously we can open it up. But you spoke a lot about building boundaries within your career. And also leading with authenticity. At Salesforce, we talk a lot about like bringing your whole self to work. So can you talk a little bit about how you've had the confidence to build boundaries? What are some of the boundaries you have? How do you set the tone for like what's non-negotiable for you? And really like what advice do you have for people? Because I think especially women, it's hard for us to do that, right? Because we always feel like we have to do more to show our worth. So would love to hear a little bit about that, and feel free to jump in, others who have thoughts.
I mean, this panel, we're going to answer all these questions today. Absolutely. You know, as I look back at my career, if you haven't picked this up from my energy, I'm like golden retriever energy. So my team has recently taught me there's this thing, you're black cat or you're golden retriever. I am undoubtedly golden retriever. Tamara and I were talking about this earlier. And you know, when I was younger and I had more time before I started a family, I would go into life like really curious, and if I wanted to learn more about something, or I remember working in social media marketing and it was new, and everyone's like, ooh, Twitter, what is that? Like, what are we doing with social media? What's our social plan? I would spend like weekends going to conferences and learning, and I had this time and energy. And as I've gotten older, old knees, I'm tired. I have a baby, 4-year-old. She's very demanding. It's her world. We're living in it. And I don't have as much time, so I've had to really put in boundaries and being able to say no, which is not natural to me, which is tough. And as Alex hit on earlier, having a global team is really challenging. If I could work from like 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. and then it would go right into family time, and then it should go right into checking my email and going back to bed. And that's not sustainable, because I want to have a life. I want to practice my ukulele and, get outside and walk and maybe run with Tamara one day. And it's really challenging to be successful as a mom, in your job, as a manager, in your career, as a person, discovering yourself. And so I've had to really put down boundaries, but in a way that's still authentic to myself, because I am naturally curious. I love people. I want to hear about your new hobby, or if there's a new marketing practice or influencer marketing. I want to learn about all of these things, and I want to be semi-good at it, which is exhausting. So I think for me, it's been checking in with my values. So you had asked earlier, like, how do you bring your authentic self to work? How do you show up and build your brand? I really start with like an exercise of like, who am I? I'm never going to change who I am as a person. I've tried. I remember early in my career being like, I am a businesswoman. I wear suits, I show up, I travel. She was scary, okay? And she did not last long. So I think it's just been like a really beautiful journey of being authentic to myself, checking in, knowing what my strengths and weaknesses are, learning about how to improve in the areas that I'm not great at, hiring for the gaps, right? Like, I might not be a super detailed person, but there's someone on my team who is, which is beautiful. So I think just being my authentic self and embracing who I am, it's never going to change. It's just going to get better, like a fine wine. And then being able to put those boundaries at work and really empower my team so they can be their authentic selves, right? They can feel empowered. They can grow in their careers. They can move sideways, up or down. They can take my job one day. Like, I want people to feel that way. I want to feel like I'm helping, build the next CMO. I joke around. I say, I'm going to work for you one day. Please, Jesus, take the wheel. That's success, right? So I think it's just, it's challenging, but just really checking in with myself, with the universe, making that time to understand where I'm at in my journey. Just feeling good, checking internally here to make sure I'm feeling really good with myself.
Can I add to that? I think love all of that and agree with it. I think the thing I would add is telling your team what those boundaries are and sticking to it. It's living it, not just talking about it. Not that that you were, but the example I had is I started playing tennis during COVID to get out of the house, to get away from the screen. It used my brain in a way in my body that like wasn't in front of a screen or children, and trying to do all the things at home. And I had a tennis lesson every Friday at 2:00. Everybody knew about it. I never missed it, except for once I had to come into the city. My boss knew about it, my team knew about it, my peers knew about it. It became a topic, and they stuck to it. And they're like, you're taking Friday off at 2? And I'm like, yeah, and I can't talk to you 30 minutes before, and I probably won't talk to you after that until on Monday. And it was super respected.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that time, it was like my time to clear my head. So especially for busy moms or all of us just trying to do a million things for everybody, I think it's really, really important to not only create the boundary, but stick to it and show it, especially to your team, because they'll do it too. And then they're performing better. Everybody needs to have that time away and that ability to unplug and have that boundary, respected.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with that. And I know leaders and myself who've gotten feedback about like slacking and emailing over the weekend, and that's a boundary. And I think as leaders, and this is such a little simple thing, but we're like, I'm going to Slack you, I'm going to send you a note, but you don't have to respond, right?
Schedule send. Schedule send. Schedule it for the Monday morning.
Send. It's an easy way to respect a boundary, and I think our teams really take our lead and set the tone. So if you're messaging them, they feel the need to respond. So it's like, set your boundaries, but also really lean in hard to respecting those of the people on your team. And the other thing I'll say about authenticity is like during COVID, I had my daughter on camera all the time. And she was a part of my team meetings sometimes. And she said hello to people, and she knew the names of people that worked for me. And sometimes it was disruptive, but I thought it was really important to have that authenticity and for people to see like what working parents have to deal with. And I had one woman on my team say to me, like, I love that you show your kids, because I always try to hide my son, and I like lock the door so he can't be in the room because I don't want people to know or think that I have a distraction. And I'm like, no, but it's okay that you have that. So I think modeling the way from authenticity, setting our boundaries, and ensuring we're respecting the boundaries of those on our team are extremely important so that they feel like they can bring their whole selves to work.
And I also think, I'm sorry, do you mind? No. I also think there's a relatability to that as well. And I think that's very important when you are like, sort of leading a global team, that there's that relatability, because you're also providing that like psychological safety, right? It's like, oh, well, my boss is a human and not a businesswoman with the suit, right? My boss is a human, and so I can be a human too, and I can show my boss that I am a human.
I say like leading with vulnerability is a superpower, and I think the best leaders do that. Go ahead.
I just, on the topic of, because I think this is something that I've definitely experienced, so I imagine other people experience this, and you mentioned this around the sort of ideal professional woman, right? Who's got like no emotion, and like she's just very like business. And I think like growing up, like I always thought that too. And I was like, I don't really know like if I can be myself at work, right? Like I have a personality. Sometimes I say crazy things. Like, so I think that's so important, because I think for me, I've gotten to a certain point where I'm like, this is just it. Like I can't pretend. I can't show up as like this altered version of myself that's, more buttoned up, right? Like this is as buttoned up as I'm going to get. And like, this is it. So, but what's been so great is I feel like I've more recently started working with women. Like I had a former boss who I was like, wow, like you're an SVP, and like you are like a person with a personality, and like you're cool and you're funny, and like, okay, so that does exist. And we recently hired CP, who's our head of sales, and she has a personality, and like it's fun, it makes work fun. And like, so I just want to like say, like, you can have a personality and still be professional and still be successful. So yeah.
Oh God. We don't have to fit in a box, right? I think as more women continue to get elevated within their career and show that we can be different and still have success, like we're going to breed more of that. Okay, we are going to open it up now for questions from the crowd.
Hi, I'm Monet, and thank you all so much for being here. This has been amazing. I have like pages of notes. While we're on the topic, okay, can you all hear me?
Grab a water.
Speak really loud. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
So I'm Monet. Great to see you all and meet some of you. So Allison, I've had the pleasure of being on calls with you, and early in my career, watching you be so authentic, I was like, oh my goodness, to see someone with this energy as a leader was really encouraging. But I'd love to hear for you, like anyone, it can be any of you that would like to speak on this. What advice would you give your younger self, like someone that's not an SVP or someone that's not quite at the level where they feel like maybe they can crack a fun dad joke or be silly on a call and show that personality? Because I think that's what I struggle with. Like I definitely have
golden retriever energy as well, but sometimes I'm on a call with like a CFO and I'm like, oh, I've got to like button it up, keep it cool. So any like specific advice to your younger self or maybe earlier on in your career would be great.
Yeah. I think one advice I would give is take more risks. I think it's really important to put yourself outside of the comfort zone. Maybe apply for the job that you're not doing today, but apply for the job that you want tomorrow. Doesn't mean that you have to have all the skill sets, but worst case, you're back in the job you have today. Go for the next one, and then the next one. I think it is so important to try to put yourself into an uncomfortable situation because that's what really pushes you to the next level. And I also would say, do the job of your boss, meaning if you are an individual contributor and you really want to start to move up in your career and grow and learn, show them that you can do that job and really put yourself out there. It doesn't mean you're stepping on toes, it doesn't mean you're trying to take anything over, it's just that will be recognized. People will notice that, your boss will notice, others will notice, but it's also going to help you grow. So I think those are the two areas that I would give my younger self.
I love that with the do your boss's job. The thing that I would add is don't let the gremlin get into your head. That little voice in the side of your head that's like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. Maybe you shouldn't say that. Forget the gremlin. Like sweep them off your shoulder and do the thing that feels right to you, right? Show up as your authentic self. It's okay to have that personality. Or if you're maybe building confidence as you're younger, right? Like you're telling yourself a story that's not true. You're building it up. So it's that gremlin. Silence the gremlin.
I would love to add, you should definitely ask for what you think you're worth. I will say I was at one company that shall remain nameless, and I was just like, look at me. See, I'm working. Look, all my numbers. And they're like, good little workhorse, right? And I wasn't getting like promoted as fast as some of my peers who were going in and saying, I want to get promoted. And when I started going in and saying, I want to get promoted, guess what happened? I got promoted. So a closed mouth definitely does not get fed. And the worst anything anyone can ever say to you is no.
I would also say buy Salesforce stock, buy Apple stock, buy. But, I mean, that would have been nice.
Maybe a little Google stock too. Right now it's not doing too bad.
But I also think you're doing great. I mean, I've shared some embarrassing stories of faux pas I've made in my career, and I am sorry, excuse me. I'm so lucky. Yeah, that's it. I'm so lucky to have had amazing mentors who've coached me or given me feedback of how I could have done that differently. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm in this amazing company of strong, successful, powerful women, and I'm just so lucky for that. And so I think to my younger self, you're doing a great job, and keep showing up. And it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to try to wear the power suit, and just keep trying and stay curious and be yourself. I think it's so easy to look back and be like, I should have done this or I should have done that. But really, they're just small mistakes, right? Even if you're on a call with a CFO and you make a dad joke and it doesn't land, someone maybe in the audience did, and they're going to call you next time and take you with them. And I think, it's just it's a beautiful experience when you open up to it. And I think just being kinder to yourself sometimes is really important.
I'll just add, be your own advocate, which I think is what a lot of us are saying. Know your worth and find mentors and people around you. We talk a lot about mentorship, and those shouldn't just be yes ma'am people. Those should be people who tell you when you're making a really big mistake. I just wrote a speech for an event I'm doing in a couple weeks, and I showed it to he's a friend / mentor, and he's like, Amy, this is terrible. And I was like, that is the kindest thing you could ever say to me. But take the criticism, and it's not personal. If you're getting it from people that care about you, use that to build upon.
Ask for feedback. Yeah, to add on to that. Yeah. Ask for feedback. Don't take it personal. The feedback is always wanted. It's cliche, yes, it is truly a gift, but take it, work on it, improve on it. Especially if you do go in and you ask for a promotion, you show the data behind it and you explain why you're deserving and they say no, well then ask for the feedback. Well, where are the areas I can improve? Where are the areas to get to the next level? What will it take? Because that's so important, and then you can build upon that as well. And I think one other thing that I've always followed is know your audience. Whether you're on a call, in a meeting, talking to a peer, just always know your audience, because the same thing can't apply to everyone. You have to tailor it to your audience, and it's very important whether you're in an IC role or C-level all the way up, it applies to everyone within a company.
Question back there.
Hi, apologies in advance if I cough. I have a 3-year-old who's been giving me daycare colds for the last 2 weeks. Kind of touching upon your last comments there, could you talk about your professional development community? Like, how have you established those around you that support you and help advance you and challenge you? Because I think as a woman, it's not typically the traditional model, as you kind of like, some men, they play golf and then they have all their networks there and things like that. Could you kind of share some of your observations of what's worked well for you in your professional development and building community?
Yeah, I can start to answer. I don't know if that was directed towards me exactly, but I find those that you emulate, whether it's in your current company or others, and don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, look, it's no surprise. Women are at a disadvantage in many ways, and I think we all would love for that to be changed, but it's going to take a lot of time and change, and we're all empowering ourselves to make that change. But find those that you see that you think, okay, there's something there. There's a spark. There's something I want to learn. And don't hesitate to reach out. I think you'd be so surprised how many women are willing to send you an email back or a phone call back and say, yeah, I've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30. Let's grab coffee. Let's hop on the phone. I am surprised how many times I might get random, messages. And there are those times where I do take the call and I try to help others, because I think it's so important, where we try to empower one another, but also find those that you respect. Lead by example yourself. Find those who also lead by example, and don't hesitate to reach out. It might not be a golf, but maybe they're into golf. It could be, I think, anything. But I think any quick phone call, email, that always works.
I would love to add too that I've had a lot of amazing mentors and/or people that are just way smarter than me. And so I enjoy being around them, because like I can bounce my ideas off and they can say like yay, nay, or that's horrible, right? But they help me organize my thoughts. I also have in friends accountability partners. We may just go on a hike or something like that. We check in once a month to make sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do, and it's not just talk. Right? So that's another way that I found to, because I do plan my life in quarters still, although, like I said, this year went a little awry, but, whatever. But still, like, there's milestones, because even if this thing with, like, my, own company doesn't work out, like, I've set a sunset. Like, if I'm not here by this point, I'm not going to beat myself up. It's just, hey, it didn't quite work. Maybe I'll start to look for a W-2 income again. Which is okay, and it's okay to pivot when things don't work out. So
I'll add one last thing, because I could totally agree with what you said, because I was going to say the same thing. But I often try to look in places that aren't the places that I always am to look for inspiration. We're so in our world of Salesforce and tech and CRM, and it's like tech, CRM, Salesforce, like it's just everything that we hear all day long. And when you step outside and go to like a Google conference, or you go to Ad Age and Ad Week in New York, and you're like, oh, interesting. I never thought to present a similar topic in this way. And so not only does it give you creativity, it helps you think and bring back those ideas, you're also meeting people outside of a network that can also be helpful. And so I think I know I tend to deprioritize it, but then when I do it, I'm like, I need to do this once a quarter. So find inspiration elsewhere. I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I think that community maybe you're hitting on, like everyone here in this room, I'm sure, would love to connect with you on LinkedIn and you could reach out to. Like, I know I added all of these fabulous women. I was like, boop, boop, boop. I will be calling on you when I have a question, which is so great. And I think, even just leaning into your hobbies, like I'm in a Facebook group called Moms in Tech, and there's always great nuggets around like asking for a salary negotiation, or someone recently was like, I just joined a publicly traded company, it's my first time, and how much equity should I be asking for? And I think being vulnerable and like asking those questions, but there are so many communities out there, and I think it's really important to find like what's authentic to you and connect in that, and then also build that community that's not just your people. Like finding a point of view that's very different. Like I have a couple mentors who are so different from me, their paths, their point of view, and sometimes they give me advice and I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. But it's really helpful to get that point of view and perspective and to push myself. And so I find it's like a fun balance of like, I naturally am drawn to my people, but I wanna push myself and make sure that I'm not in a vacuum and that I'm getting a different point of view and that I can challenge myself to grow. Because that uncomfortable feeling is a good feeling, is what I tell myself. Like I'm growing in that moment. It doesn't always feel great, but it really pushes you, which is helpful.
I would just add one thing. Like, I don't think that there's anyone in my life that I'm like, that's my mentor. Like, I'm like, you're my mentor. I've never really had that. But I have people that I spend time with, whether it's like at work or I watch YouTube videos of them, and they're just speaking and I'm watching them and I'm seeing how they work and I'm seeing what they do, and I'm like gleaning information from that, and I'm feeling a connection, or a podcast that I'm listening to. I'm like, I know I'm not sitting in a room talking with these women or these people, but I feel like I'm a part of this interaction. So I think it's okay too to sometimes not necessarily have this like very formal mentor-mentee type of dynamic, but it still kind of is sort of from a distance or in a way, and you're still like learning and growing and developing yourself, and feeling a connection, and especially like in today's world where like so much of what we do is like digitized. Like I don't go to, like, other than Dreamforce and maybe a couple world tours, like this is like the only time that I'm out, meeting people, and it's great. Like face to face is so great, but I guess my point is that you can still sort of like interact in a community or get a connection or learn from someone who's a mentor, and it's not such a like formal way, and it's still beneficial.
The last point I'll add is community can be like a community of women like we're talking about, but you also need people who don't look and feel like you. We need men. We need people of color. We need people of different ages that you can surround yourself with, that are going to give you different ideas and that are going to advocate for you when you're not in the room. So I think that's really important too. Don't surround yourself with people who look and feel exactly like you and who are going to yes you all the time, right? You want challengers. And some of my best mentors and advocates have been men, and I think that's really important.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm CP. Right now, I work, and so I'm trying to become more multidimensional, and I'm reading and listening to more podcasts. So whether it be for pleasure escape or for business and professional development, I'd love to hear, what are you reading, or what is your favorite podcast?
I am all about Glennon Doyle. Untamed is like my Bible. And Brené Brown, Dare to Lead. If you are thinking about getting into leadership, there's a section in there that I go back to every year that's about like building your values. And I think every year you should go through that exercise, but those are like two of my favorite books. And I'm reading some beach reads too, but I'll leave it at those two.
I'm reading a beach read right now, and it's called Homewreckers. But it's not about what you think. It's about, anyway, look it up. It's not about what you think. But I've read those books. I think they're awesome. And I think it's just important to have good news outlets too. I mean, I know that sounds simple, but reading various news outlets, not just one. And sadly, sometimes those feeds come through on Instagram. And so I like just to try to have a rotation of getting news from various places in addition to some of those business places and then check out Homewreckers.
How do I follow with those? I don't have any beach reads right now. This is going to sound so. There is a great book out there. It's a very short read, but it's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and I don't think you have to be in a manager role to read this. It really is IC to manager, but it's a great read, and I think you'll use it through your whole career. So I highly recommend that book. And then similar with social media, if anyone's heard of, his name's Gary Vee, but if look him up, I think very motivational. It's a great way to say it. He's a motivational speaker. But I think the most important piece is he's always talking about kind of, happiness, but also within, and how to be strong, and how to ask for what you want, and how to kind of live every day to the fullest, and very work-related, though. So I recommend following him as well.
So I'll be honest. I go like very like just celebrity gossip, like mind-numbing, like ridiculousness when it comes to like podcasts. So I'll do all of it. Like, and Scandival, I got super into Scandival. So I listen to like
Vanderpump
Lala
Rules.
Kent, Sheena Shea. Like I'm listening to all of it. I love pop culture, but I can also go the other way. And I am currently reading or listening. I cannot read. I listen because I've got other stuff to do while I listen. The chairman of Nokia wrote this book that I'm like listening to that's really, really good about how they kind of like, obviously Nokia was like, incredible, like the biggest, mobile company. And then like they completely declined and Apple came in and Android and then they got back up, right? So it's like that journey. And he talks about this idea that I really resonate with, which is called a paranoid optimist. And so like this is a person that like can see the challenges that are currently happening or coming ahead, and they're planning and they're preparing, but they're always optimistic that like things will work out, we will get to the other side. Like it's just a way to kind of like manage the ebbs and flows of life and of work and of everything. So it's a really great book to listen to or read probably, but I recommend that.
So for me, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to sound like I'm, but I too, not the Lala Kim, that's a bit much, but no judgment, because I'm about to hit you with
I
one
love
too.
it. I'm fine with it.
I mean, although the Scandival thing did capture me for a week, and I was like, what is this?
I was very into it for several weeks.
Yeah,
so
it was just
there we go.
It was a week. It was a slow weekend, and I was in Bravo. Sometimes, it'll have everything on repeat. Anyway, so what I'm actually, and this is no lie, and I have an hour left. I'm listening to Kevin Hart's "Can't Make It Up," right? And he's wildly successful, and I just really appreciate how he has reinvented himself, right? And I actually started the book because I was like, oh, I just need some type of escapism. Like I want him to be funny. I want him to make me laugh, but it actually ended up being very inspiring. But I'm happy to share, and not all of them are coming to mind right now, some of the things that I do listen to just when I need a little boost, or when I feel like I need to do some self-reflection with just myself with 10 toes down, because you do get a lot from others, and I value that, but you also at the end of the day have to make a decision that's right for you, right? So, and I'm happy to share that afterwards. I just can't think right now. It's a little early.
You guys crack me up. Excuse me.
Oh, I should have pulled out my phone.
I'm like, what am I listening to? Because I died. Okay, I'll keep it brief. This American Life, really good at storytelling. Ira Glass, classic. The Daily, when I want to feel like I know what's going on in the news, but I don't want to commit too much to the news. Jay Shetty for some mindfulness, if I feel like I need to check in and take care of my mind and my heart. Glennon Doyle, We Can Do Hard Things, off the Brene, and her and Abby Wambach really speak to me. And then anything on Reese's Book Club, help reads, beach reads, love those. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, banger. Malibu Rising, great. I mean, I think I love to read. I'm like a total nerd. I was an accelerated reader. I don't know if you guys had that at your middle school or elementary school. Yes. I had the sweatshirt, loved it. But I love reading. I feel like it just helps you, like, the podcasts are so great. Watch What Happens on Bravo, all that. Like, just so many great things. But that's what I love to do on my spare time. But maybe you're not a listener. I don't know. There's so many great things. But I would love to hear from any of you guys of what you're reading or what's top of mind for you, because I gotta feed the beast. I gotta subscribe to new things. So slide into our DMs. Let us know what you're reading. We're very curious.
Slide into your DMs. We're going to end with that. Thank you all so much. You were all fabulous. We know you could be spending your time doing anything else, and we appreciate you coming here. And thank you so much to Vonage for sponsoring this. I think some of us will hang out if you want to chat further, but appreciate everyone's time. And you all are amazing and so inspirational. So thank you.
Thank you.